Hello everybody, I'm Dr. Dayashankar Gautam, Assistant Professor, Department of Zoology, St. Aloysius College. Today, I'll be making a discussion on cryopreservation with a special reference to cryoprotectants. Before I move into the topic, I would like to take you to some examples. Number one, soldiers. What happens with those soldiers who are fighting for their countries and living apart from their families due to their important duties? Suppose any soldier goes to a battlefield and he's died, he's martyred. Then what happens to their hair? What happens to their descendants? The solution is the same thing, cryobiology. Because here the sperms are cryopreserved before the soldier goes to the battlefield. And if something happens with the soldier, then this sperm can be utilized by his family for getting a child even after his death. Number two, workers. There are so many female workers working in multinational companies. It has been found that if the females conceive in early age, then at the time of pregnancy, their efficacy is reduced. So, to solve this problem, these multinational companies have started providing a huge amount of the incentives to the females, where the females cryopreserve their early ovulating ova and ova for conceiving at the later age of the life, because in the researches it has been proved that the early ovulating ova has a greater potency than that of the ova which is being ovulated at later age, and there is a greater chance of so many genetical disorders if the ova which has been ovulated at the later age of the life is fertilized with a sperm. Another is the males who donate their sperm. Then what happens to their sperm? They are cryopreserved for the use after many years. In the animal husbandry, to get a good breed, the sperms and ovum are cryopreserved, and even they can be utilized for in vitro fertilization and other processes. This cryobiology term was used in 1950s. It is also called low temperature biology. The temperature which is being used here is minus 196 degrees Celsius or minus 321 degree Fahrenheit. This complete process takes place in liquid nitrogen. Cryobiology is also called as the core of fertility cryopreservation. Cryobiology is the branch of biology involving the following steps. Here, the impact of low temperature on the organism is studied, and most oftenly, this technique is used for achieving cryopreservation. In the researches, the main cause of cell death at lower temperature has been found, and now the techniques have been developed to stop this cause. With the help of these techniques, now we are capable for long term storage of both living cells and living tissues. Now, what is the principle? Actually, when the cells are put in the lower temperature, then it is found that the water which is present inside the cell is crystallized. The ice crystals are formed. Now, these crystals rupture the organelles present in the cell plasma membrane. Then, when the plasma membrane is ruptured or the organelles which are present in the cell are ruptured, the cell automatically gets died. So, prevent this, some specific substances are being used which are called as cryoprotectants, which lower the freezing point and prevent ice crystal formation in intracellular or extracellular space. Now, what are cryoprotectants? These are the substances or chemicals which are used for the purpose of cryopreservation. Some of the examples of the cryoprotectants are glycerol, dimethyl sulfoxide, ethylene glycol, propylene glycol, which is also called as Doe frost. Now the types. What are the types of cryoprotectants? There are two types. Number one is penetrating and number two is non-penetrating. Here in this diagram we can see the working of penetrating and non-penetrating cryoprotectants. Here in the above diagram we can see the cryoprotectant is when mixed with the cells, it goes inside the cell and increases the osmolarity at outside, due to which water goes out and the cell is dehydrated. So it decreases the chance of ice crystal formation. In another diagram we can see the cryoprotectant always exists at outer side of the cell, outer environment, and increases the osmolarity, due to which water comes outside the cell, and when the water is ousted, then the less chance of ice crystal formations are there and the viability of the cell is increased. Now, coming into the details of the cryoprotectants, number one, penetrating cryoprotectants. What are their properties? They are generally small in size, that's why can easily diffuse inside the cell, crossing the plasma membrane. They are non-ionic compounds. They have high solubility in water at low temperatures. What is the mechanism of action of these penetrating cryoprotectants? Number one, these chemical compounds can diffuse through cellular membranes by the process of penetration. Then, after reaching inside the cell, they equilibrate within the cytoplasm and replace the bulk of intracellular water without overhydrating the cell. I'm pointing out, without overhydrating the cell. These permitting cryoprotectants solidify at lower temperature than water, which reduces the amount of intracellular ice formation, which mitigates damage resulting from physical perturbation to cellular organelles and membranes. These are some of the examples of penetrating cryoprotectants: DMSO, that is dimethyl sulfoxide, glycerol, propylene glycol, ethylene. Now coming to non-penetrating cryoprotectants. These are non-penetrating, that means they cannot penetrate inside the cell. Now what is their mechanism? They adopt two sort of mechanisms. Number one, by increasing osmolarity in extracellular space, and number two, by keeping ice in the amorphous state. So we come to first mode of action. Generally, these cryoprotectants are long chain polymer, so they are too large to diffuse into the cell. So they increase osmolarity of the extracellular space and cellular dehydration takes place, which reduces the chance of intracellular ice crystal formation. Number two is by keeping ice in the amorphous state. Some cryoprotectants may absorb on the membrane surfaces of the cells, and then they keep ice in the amorphous state, that inhibit ice crystal formation in the immediate vicinity of the cell. These are some of the examples of commonly used non-penetrating cryoprotectants. They are generally mono, oligo, polysaccharides. So in monosaccharides, glucose, galactose, arabinose; disaccharides, sucrose, lactose, maltose; and in polysaccharides, raffinose and dextrons are used. These are the references which are used to prepare this presentation. Thanks for watching. Have a nice time.